Hello, dear friends. Corrine coming to you on this video to talk a little bit about my experience in working in and through and with the Akashic Records. I have been feeling called recently to share this story more publicly, I guess. So here it goes. My first time experiencing the Akashic Records, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I was in Thailand, northern Thailand, the town of Pai to be exact. So lovely. I think about that place all the time. If you have been, you know what I'm talking about. It's so special there. And I had gone to Pai after I finished my 200-hour yoga teacher training program in just a little bit further south of there, so north of Chiang Mai. And I went to Pai to kind of just settle after that very intense experience of a 1-month yoga teacher training program. And I found this great little place, this meditation retreat center called the Open Mind Center in Pai. And I rented a small little sort of bungalow-esque place, shared my space with many, many spiders. And I wrote and I meditated and I did yoga and I met some amazing people who were staying there, who would come through there and stay for short times, long times. And one of the women that I met there, her name was Manuka, and she was from Germany, I believe. And she practiced this healing modality called theta healing. And so I did a session with her. And basically what we did is she muscle tested me on some things, just some basic questions. And the first thing that came up is that I was not from Earth. And I was like, what? What? Of course, now I'm like, that's so common, right? But at the time I was like, oh my gosh. She's like, no, don't worry. Like most of my friends aren't from Earth. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then we did this meditation where we were lying down next to each other and she was guiding the meditation and asking me what I was experiencing and what I was seeing. And so I was just telling her about it and it was beautiful. I remember when we began the meditation, there was just this sort of like big open expansive space, all of these white and gold, like big pillars, right? Like just these structures. It was almost like a castle or something, but not a castle, and these huge pillars. And I remember telling her that's what I was seeing. And she was like, oh, I don't know, maybe that's your mind projecting something. And that was fine. And then this tiger, this huge tiger came to me and stayed with me through this whole reading. And I saw my third eye for the first time. I saw this just big, huge eye right in front of me as part of me. And like, that's what I was seeing through. Trying to remember other things that I saw. Those were kind of the primary pieces. And then, yeah. And fast forward to last fall. So like probably around September, October of 2019. And I listened to a podcast with my dear friend, Marissa Radha Wepner. Love Service Wisdom is the name of her podcast. And she interviewed this woman named Asia Andromeda, who referred to herself as a multidimensional shaman. And she had this sort of online virtual program, or I don't know what you would call it, shamanic guidance, called Multidimensional You, like just the letter U. And they were talking all about multidimensionality. And she was talking about, aliens, and she was talking about star seeds. And talking about the indigo children and the rainbow children and all of this stuff. And just everything she was saying, my brain, myself was just like, ding, 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 ding. Like, you know, all of this, you know, all of this. So I did what anybody does in this day and age. And I got on the internet and started searching. I use DuckDuckGo. I don't use Google. And I started searching just madly for information down this like multidimensional rabbit hole. And I came across another podcast called Manifest This. Yeah, Manifest This with Ashley Wood. And I kind of started listening to her podcast. And she, in one of her early episodes of the podcast, talked about learning how to open the Akashic Records. And I was like, what is this Akashic Records? Just the word, the vibration of the word Akasha, like everything about it just resonated with me completely. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is something that I know, or that I have to know more about, or it's important. Like, I just, you hear those things or you see those things and you just know that they're important. And so I purchased the book by Linda Howe called How to Read the Akashic Records. And another thing I guess I should mention is when I heard about the Akashic Records, it wasn't what they are, which I'll talk about in a minute, that resonated for me. It was literally the word Akasha. So Akasha, kind of the most literal translation is space, right? It's just like everything. But growing up, my favorite book, like absolute favorite book, I've read it, I don't know how many times, I haven't read it in a while, but my most favorite book was The Queen of the Damned of the Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. And the first vampire ever made, like the queen of the vampires, her name was Akasha. So I had connection. I had connection to this word. So anyways, fast forward, I purchased Linda Howe's book, How to Read the Akashic Records. And it came a couple days after I ordered it. And I sat down, I think it was a Friday. I had time and I sat down and I devoured it. Like, I devoured the book in an hour, maybe. Like, it just like it was like, I don't know if you've heard of people talking about, receiving like DNA codes, like DNA upgrades, things like that. It was like that. It was like something within me was like brought online. I had just been waiting, and I just tore through that book so quickly. And the next thing I knew, I was sitting down and preparing myself to open the records for the first time using the pathway prayer process. And then I did. I said the prayer, I opened the records, and the instruction in the book was, don't ask any questions the first time you open the records, just be there, be present in that light and that frequency and that energy, and just witness and observe like what you feel and what you see. And so I did. And the first thing that happened was this warm, like light just surrounded my whole body. Like, it felt like there was just this like heated, warm light behind me, like just holding me behind me. It was the very first thing I experienced. And then like my whole body was tingling and it felt really comfortable. It felt really safe. And then the next thing was I started to see these same visions that I saw when I was in Thailand, when I did that theta healing. I saw these white pillars and the tiger, who I have had since learned, the tiger was my primary power animal, like my power totem animal, who's been with me since birth. I learned that before opening the records this time, but when the tiger showed up, it was the same tiger who had been there previously. Me now knowing that the tiger was my power animal. And anytime the tiger shows up for me, my tiger shows up, it means that there's something important, that I'm doing something that is aligned with my soul's purpose and why I'm here. And so yeah, I was sitting with that. And then the next thing I knew, there was this big eye, again, my own third eye. And I like entered through my third eye. And it just, again, it was just light. Like it was just so much like radiant, bright light. But it was a very similar feeling and a very similar look to when I had done that theta healing all those years ago in Thailand. And so I realized that I had accessed the Akashic Records before, and I had realized that I have always had access to these records. Everybody does. Everybody has access to the Akashic Records. It's something that I have a really strong connection to in this lifetime. And from there, they've just been such a blessing, being able to read records for people, access records for myself and for others has been just such the biggest blessing for my life, and I hope for others' lives too. So yeah, that's my story of coming into the records for the first time and really recognizing them and realizing that I had been there before. If you're interested in learning more about the records or having a reading of your own, I would love, love, love to serve as a channel for you, and do a reading for you. You can there's a link below, how to sign up for an Akashic Records reading through my website. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or check me out, follow me on Instagram. Information for that is below as well. Thank you so much for sharing time and space with me. I love you.